Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. My cabinet colleague, Senator the Honorable Larry Hawaii, Minister of Finance and the Economy, our Permanent Secretary, Mr. Jagannath Soom, Chairman of the Board of Governors of the UTT, Mr. Curtis Manchun, and members of the board, other chairmen of state organizations and private sector companies, Dr. Fazal Ali, Acting President and Provost of UTT, Professor Thompson, members of faculty, management, and staff, and students who are here from the University of Trinidad and Tobago, Professor Henry Eskowitz, our featured speaker, President of Triple Helix Association, our guest presenter. Let me say I was just confirming with Mr. Manchun that this is Professor's first visit to Trinidad. I'd like to ask you to give him a 50th anniversary. Trini, welcome. Mr. Subrayan, General Manager, Sales and Marketing of Blue Waters, other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, members of the media. Let me first of all thank the University of Trinidad and Tobago for inviting me here to say a few words this morning. Also to really thank them as well for adjusting the program, since I have another engagement with about an hour and a half drive from here. I need to be in the east for 11 a.m. since we are now rebranding the on-the-job training program to call it OJTS, S meaning sectoral. So it is by no means the closing address as on the program. You need to stay on a little longer to listen to the other presentations. Ladies and gentlemen, entrepreneurship itself is expressed in many ways, from a visionary university graduate evolving into a startup company, to a stay-at-home mother with business acumen establishing an online trading company, to corporate social entrepreneurship, whereby employees champion socially responsible activities whilst meeting business targets. Regardless of the nature, entrepreneurship is a vehicle for wealth generation, job creation, economic growth, and international competitiveness. In the 1980s, Peter Drucker's ideas on innovation and entrepreneurship became the panacea for corporate giants in the United States of America. Drucker identified entrepreneurs as persons who saw change as the standard and therefore took risk and exploited opportunities. When Ray Kroc, the founder of McDonald's, went on to standardize and brand everyday burgers, fries, and sodas, which blossomed into a multinational corporation, Drucker believed that to be entrepreneurial instinct at its best. So too, Trinidad and Tobago boasts of nationals with the same entrepreneurial instincts for many years ago, and more recently, those like S.M. Jalil, Ansa Makal Group, Blue Waters President, who is the president of TTMA, Dominic Hadid, and a much unknown young individual from Central Trinidad, whose pepper sauce you now taste on the flights of Caribbean Airline, Dindial Sikumar. Ladies and gentlemen, the fundamental question that must be answered is, how can we harness more these entrepreneurial success stories here locally? I said at the Arthur Lockjack Graduate School of Business some time ago that while we do our MBAs and strategic planning and read the case studies of the North, maybe the time has reached for us to develop and read the case studies of Trinidad and Tobago. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2011, the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, the GEM, reported that Trinidad and Tobago had a relatively high perception of entrepreneurship in terms of opportunities, capabilities, career path, and status, compared to countries such as Malaysia, Croatia, and Uruguay, which are all grouped in the efficiency-driven economy classification. However, Trinidad and Tobago was also reported as having a relatively high fear of failure. The GEM also reported that Trinidad and Tobago underperformed at established business ownership with a 6.9% rate for adults. The range spanned from 2% in Hungary to 30.1% in Thailand. However, in terms of total early stage entrepreneurial activity, the TEA, which consists of nascent entrepreneurship or adults in the process of starting up businesses and new business ownership, Trinidad and Tobago performed well with a 22.7% rate. The range spanned from 4.9% in Malaysia to 24% for China. Ladies and gentlemen, the data suggests that as we perceive entrepreneurship favorably, we remain fearful of failure. In addition, while the rate of startup activity is positive, the rate of established business ownership is not as favorable. A specific recommendation for efficiency-driven economies such as ours is that we ought to engage in specialized and targeted entrepreneurial education, as well as increase access to finance for persons with the necessary business skills. In addition, our entrepreneurs have to begin considering international trading opportunities and further be able to withstand global competitive pressures. While this global benchmark and others signal potential areas of improvement, it is evident that Trinidad and Tobago must continue to nurture a culture of entrepreneurship and promote open knowledge sharing through collaborative partnerships. Today's symposium, entitled Entrepreneurial Development Using the Triple Helix Model, is a deliberate strategy to stimulate enhanced collaboration amongst the state, industry, and academia. Professor Eskowitz's Triple Helix model is described as a spiral model of innovation that captures multiple reciprocal relationships at different points in the knowledge capitalization process. These discussions will therefore influence strategic alliances among corporate entities and academics, enable effective policy formulation by the state, and further create an overlay of trilateral networks for the purpose of idea formulation and high-tech development. As Minister with responsibility for tertiary education and skills training, and as a responsible government, we have been playing a significant role in creating the right ecosystem for developing our future workforce, while at the same time being mindful of the cost of doing so, as you would have heard from my cabinet colleague, the Honorable Minister of Finance and the Economy. In fact, government's access to the globe in more ways than one in terms of information and entrepreneurship will positively impact not only the environment, but economic and innovative performances. While we talk about the relationship and the collaboration between government, business, and academia, I want to also recommend strongly that the institutions and the universities particularly in Trinidad and Tobago, because of our small island state, must have lateral collaboration consistently for improvement, not only knowledge sharing, but also in terms of delivery. You would have heard about the aspect of labor market and job creation from my colleague, Honorable Minister of Finance. But the creation of such an environment is by no means a rudimentary task, as we must ask deep-rooted questions of ourselves. And I pose these questions to you. Are all our programs addressing, that is the programs in the education system, and particularly that at the higher education level, are all these programs addressing current socio-economic demands and future projections? Are our students being exposed to the right curriculum and pedagogy within the classroom aligned to our socio-economic needs? Are we exposing our students to their specific industries during their courses of study? And apart from stimulating the classrooms, stimulating the businesses? Are our MBA students, for example, getting exposure to real-life management decision-making and strategic planning? How often are our industry professionals being involved in the learning process and engaged within the classrooms? Are our senior educators keeping up with the technological demands of the workplace? How many business startups have we successfully supported through research and development? My colleagues, these questions are merely intended to evoke introspection so that our institutions and systems can evolve through continuous improvement. Lee Kuan Yew authored a book entitled From Third World to First, the Singapore story, 1965 to 2000. And today Singapore is a dominant force in the global space, despite gaining independence after our twin island republic of Trinidad and Tobago. I propose to you that we need to TTA. We need to think, we need to talk, and we need to act like a first world nation. The buzzwords of innovation and creativity, the buzzwords of commercialization, and all the dialogue and debate must now move to delivery. I humbly suggest to you over the course of your consultation. In this regard, I want to also suggest that the University of the West Indies, the University of Trinidad and Tobago, and even COSTAT, when it transitions into a full-fledged university, ought to be in the top echelons of these international benchmarks, such as the QS World University Ranking, and that is not too far, in my view, in the distant future. It will be instructive to note that for the year 2012-2013, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, MIT in the USA, ranked first on the QS World University Rankings of the top 700 universities, followed by the University of Cambridge in the UK and Harvard. There has been much debate about government's assistance to tuition expenses. And you would have heard that from the Minister of Finance, and I'm sure you would have read it in the newspaper on Sunday. And I repeat, as indeed I endorse the words of the Minister of Finance, that this government is about financing success. We're not about financing failures and success even in the startup of entrepreneurial businesses. Last year, ladies and gentlemen, over 52,000 students accessed free tertiary education through the GATE program. And with the vigorous expansion of local capacity, several thousand more spaces will become available in the coming years. The expansion of UWI, UTT, and COSTAT will in fact take on some of these deficits in the higher education system. However, I think there are some things that we need to be reminded of. As many as 12,000 students were not meeting the minimum GPA, and you would have seen that too in the interview I had with the newspaper over the weekend. And therefore, these students must be held accountable for non-performance, as indeed we are held accountable for non-performance in our businesses and in the private sector. And that is why we have not, in fact, one of the things that we need to look at is, do we consider pay for performance rules as stipulated in the agreement between the government and the student? The government, in my view, cannot continue to subsidize non-performance. It is simply against the very mantra which the Honorable Prime Minister, Mrs. Kamla Persad-Bissessar, gave us very early, of deliver, deliver, deliver. Furthermore, we are seeking internationally, we are seeing that internationally, that the cost of education is rising. According to The Economist magazine in the article entitled, "The College Cost Calamity," on August 4, 2012, it was reported that long-term debt at not-for-profit universities in the US has been growing at 12% per annum. According to the article, and I quote, "Universities have been spending like students in a bar who think a Rockefeller will pick up the tab." My dear gathering, while students have been the focal point of the GATE program debate, we must not overlook the role of institutions. Our institutions must also be held accountable. According to the Accreditation Council of Trinidad and Tobago, ACTT, this includes raising the quality of post-secondary and tertiary education as delivered to all our customers, those students who come to us. The legislation therefore indicates that the ACTT is the watchdog over the quality of post-secondary and tertiary education. And this has been endorsed many times and very much aware too. The time has also come for us to ask some very serious questions. That while in the public sector, in the public institutions, many of our teachers are exposed to improvements in pedagogy, in terms of in-service training, whether it be BEd, whether it be DPEd, so that we increase the efficiency and the efficacy of learning outcomes, the question has to be asked, is there that commensurate training and professional development taking place in our private TLIs, all of whom also access the GATE funding. Maybe the time has come for us to look at that very seriously. And therefore, I'm going to be asking both the Accreditation Council of Trinidad and Tobago and the National Commission for Higher Education to look at these circumstances. We are witnessing the American elections now, and Bloomberg calls the elections the economy elections. In fact, there was one commentator that I read sometime around January that said that the job of the chief person in charge of the United States of America could be jeopardized if he does not create jobs. And we should also look at that lesson for us. Finally, ladies and gentlemen, the potential for harnessing a knowledge society, in my view, and I agree with Professor Edkowitz, lies in the hybridization of elements from university, industry, and government. It will startle you to know that some of our teachers, our tutors in some of our institutions, while they promote programs of entrepreneurship and industry, have never themselves been exposed to either developing, building, or experiencing how businesses operate. And that's why we want to underscore the importance of experiential learning. That's why we also want to underscore the importance of the cross-fertilization of university, of government, and of business. You would have heard as well from the Arthur Lockjaw Graduate School of Business, their business incubator of Biz Booster. While COSTAT is also moving to family enterprise development research, and the University of the West Indies in terms of its now Office for Sponsored Research and Business Development. It is a well-known fact that approximately 50% of Harvard Business School's graduates become entrepreneurs by the time they are 15 years out of the school. It might be useful to consider a tracer study of some of our graduates of our higher education system in Trinidad and Tobago. In closing, permit me the opportunity to thank the University of Trinidad and Tobago, to congratulate the chairman, Mr. Manchun, and the Board of Governors, faculty, staff, and students for hosting this much-needed symposium. But let me reiterate, there's a time that learning continues, but while that continuum continues, there must be acting out of learning. We must learn how to live, how to do, and that to me is where the essence of assessment is. How do you measure the impact of this knowledge? Are we going to continuously go to symposia? Are we going to continuously go abroad for a lot of these conferences and conventions? The key question is, what do we do when we return? And therefore, as my cabinet colleague, Minister Hoa, indicated, who has taken time off from his busy schedule, the time has come for us to look at the ROI in HEI. The ROI in HEI, the rate of investment and that return of investment in the higher education institutions. I'm also advised that immediately after these discussions, Professor Edkowitz will meet with the executives of UTT to take this initiative forward. I want to indicate that we are very proud to have you, Professor Edkowitz. We look forward to the deliverables out of this initiative. And in fact, you might notice, I don't want to take away from what the other speakers may say, particularly our colleague from Blue Waters, but you'll notice for the first time, UTT on your bottled water. That was an idea that we saw alive in Singapore. We talk about what other people do, but there are many lessons abroad for us to learn. I want to commend this program. I support it wholeheartedly, and we look forward to taking us to the next level where we can move from talk to action. Congratulations, best wishes.